One of the 4 Republicans who initially forced the vote on the Epstein files is South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace, seen here after somebody told her glasses would make her look smarter. How many can you fit? Yesterday, Mace went on the Newsmax, where the anchor asked her if there was a cabal of elites in Washington who protected one another.
I'm not part of the powerful. I'm not part of the elite. I'm an island of one. I don't get invited to parties. I don't have any friends. I have a dog.
That is so sad. I don't agree with Mace's politics, but South Carolinians got to stick together. Nancy, next time I throw a party, I would like to invite your dog.
Then a reporter asks Caroline Leavitt, so you're accusing the Democrats of engaging in political violence, but Donald Trump's been making social media posts all day saying that Democrats who said that the military should not follow unlawful orders, and they were very clear, do not follow unlawful orders because you'll end up in a military tribunal. You're in the chain of command. Don't follow them. And Donald Trump saying that those Democrats should be killed, that George Washington would have hung them, and that they should be hung for sedition. And Caroline Leavitt then lies, and the reporter says they were saying illegal orders. Like, you're not even addressing the question. And then she runs off. But here, play this clip.
Can I just follow up? The president and the vice president, for that matter, have accused the other side of encouraging political violence. Isn't that exactly what the president is doing when he says that members of Congress should be killed?
Why aren't you talking about what these members of Congress are doing to encourage and incite violence? They are literally saying to 1.3 million active duty service members not to defy the chain of command, not to follow lawful orders.
Actually,
every single
can refuse an illegal order, which
but
is
they're suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful. And the courts have proven that. This administration has an unparalleled record at the Supreme Court because we are following the laws. We don't defy court orders. We do things by the books. And to suggest and encourage that active duty service members defy the chain of command is a very dangerous thing for sitting members of Congress to do. And they should be held accountable. And that's what the president wants to see.
And the White House actually backed him up, saying the reporter should take it if she's going to give it. As if asking about public documents is the same as provoking him, while calling a woman piggy is somehow acceptable conduct. If you're finding this breakdown useful, make sure to like the video and leave a comment below. Should Trump have released the files himself instead of fighting it for 4 straight months? Let me know, because the story gets even more chaotic from here. This is where Stephen Colbert jumps in. And honestly, Colbert had a field day. The Late Show host spent large portions of his monologues tearing into Trump over the Epstein revelations. You could see it clearly. Every joke, every punchline, every reference to those emails was getting under Trump's skin.
Donald Trump's White House is panicking. They just held a disastrous press conference. Caroline Leavitt, Donald Trump's chief propagandist, just started lying about what Democrats said about Donald Trump, and the press called her out for it. And then she literally ran off of the stage while she was giving this press conference. Watch what took place here. Let's play it.
And you will hear more about that later. Thank you.
You misquoted Democrats in that video. That's actually not what they said.
We're just over a week away from Thanksgiving, but ladies and gentlemen, I am already thankful because last night around 5:30, the U.S. House and Senate voted overwhelmingly to make the Justice Department release the Epstein files, okay?
You know what's surprising? Watching a president have a full public meltdown because a late-night host won't stop talking about documents that refer to his name 1,600 times. Yes, you heard correctly, 1,600 references. And today I'm going to break down every moment of Trump's intense reaction to the Epstein files, with Stephen Colbert stepping in as the person who refuses to drop the topic. But before we dig into this entire mess, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. Honestly, if you enjoy seeing Trump lose control over things he claims don't bother him at all, you're in the perfect spot. This channel focuses on highlighting details major media outlets often skip. And trust me, this story has everything.
Now, so what's he going to do? Now, remember, Trump already tried to do everything possible to keep this from ever happening. As president, he could have released the files at any moment. He didn't and never explained why. And when the discharge petition to release the files started, he sent his minions to warn all the Republicans that voting to release the files would be seen as a hostile act.
And then Caroline Leavitt, before that, was asked by the press, what did Donald Trump mean when he called one of the members of the press, a female reporter from Bloomberg, Piggy? When he called her Piggy, what did he mean by that? And Caroline Leavitt was like, that's how he should treat you, because he's being transparent. So he's calling you what you are. That's basically what she said, that she deserved to be called Piggy. That's disgusting. This is what you're teaching our children, the next generation? How horrible. Here, play this clip.
Tomorrow, and I'll let the president speak for himself. Natalie.
Thank you, Caroline. What did the president mean when he called reporter Piggy?
Look, the president is very frank and honest with everyone in this room. You've all seen it yourself. You've all experienced it yourselves. And I think it's one of the many reasons that the American people reelected this president, because of his frankness. And he calls out fake news when he sees it. He gets frustrated with reporters when you lie about him, when you spread fake news about him and his administration. But he also is the most transparent president in history. And he gives all of you in this room, as you all know, unprecedented access. You are in the Oval Office almost every day asking the president questions. And so I think the president being frank and open and honest to your faces rather than hiding behind your backs is frankly a lot more respectful than what you saw in the last administration, where you had a president who lied to your face and then didn't speak to you for weeks and hid upstairs and didn't take your questions. So I think everyone in this room should appreciate the frankness and the openness that you get from President Trump on a near daily basis.
Let's set the stage. On November 12th, 2024, the House Oversight Committee releases a massive batch, over 20,000 pages, from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, and whose name appears again and again like something you can't get rid of. Exactly. Donald J. Trump shows up in these documents more than 1,600 times. Not once, not a handful of times, but thousands of references tied to the records of a convicted sex offender.
He even had the head of the Justice Department drag Lauren Boebert into the Situation Room to pressure her to drop her support for the discharge petition. And when all of that failed and it looked like he was going to lose, Trump suddenly flipped and said everybody should vote for it, and they did, hence the poop flambe.
Then she goes and attacks the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, and she's like, he needs to stop running his mouth right now. Tell the president of South Africa to stop running his mouth. You know, there's a G20 meeting taking place in South Africa, which Donald Trump is not sending the United States because Trump has made up fake claims that there is a white genocide taking place in South Africa and that only white people deserve refugee status in the United States. These are despicable people. Here, play this clip.
It's for you. The New York Times is reporting that the administration is now sending a U.S. official to the G20. They are sending Mark Dillard. Can you confirm if that is true, and then also explain the shift in?
I'd be happy to explain, because there is not a shift. The United States is not participating in official talks at the G20 in South Africa. I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated by the president or his team. The ambassador or the representative of the embassy in South Africa is simply there to recognize that the United States will be the host of the G20. They are receiving that send-off at the end of the event. They are not there to participate in official talks, despite what the South African president is falsely claiming.
Let that sink in for a moment. So what's actually inside these emails? Well, it's a lot. One message from Epstein to author Michael Wolff in January 2019 says, of course he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. Another email from April 2011 has Epstein telling Ghislaine Maxwell, who is now in prison for sex trafficking, I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. And what does that imply? It suggests Trump was aware of things but chose to stay silent. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. There's an email from Epstein's brother, Mark, to Jeffrey in 2018 asking whether Putin has photos of Trump blowing Bubba. Yes, that email.
Is he going to sign it? Is he going to not sign it or change his name to Senor Ramon and flee to Acapulco? Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has his theories.
The president has said he'll sign it, but who the hell knows with him? He can change his mind on a whim. We got to make sure we get all of the Epstein files. All. They can't around with this.
Yes.
And then Caroline Leavitt says, the great thing about the government shutdown is we all learned that we don't need a Department of Education anymore. Here, play this clip.
The Democrats' reckless 43-day government shutdown did manage to do one valuable thing. It proved that America does not need a federal Department of Education. During the longest shutdown in history, the Department of Education furloughed 90% of its staff, and America's education system was not impacted whatsoever. Schools stayed fully open across the country. Students attended class and received normal in-person instruction, and our wonderful teachers received their paychecks uninterrupted. The Democrats' government shutdown made it painfully obvious that American families do not need the Department of Education.
How disgusting. You're saying that you use the shutdown to rip away people's health care, to take away people's SNAP benefits, and the thing you learned is not how people were suffering, but to take away the Department of Education to harm our kids? Doesn't it seem that everything this regime does, whether it's cover up a child sex trafficking ring with the Epstein files, ripping away people's health care, attacking Medicaid, going after the Department of Education?
The one that completely exploded online, the one that made people instantly ask, hold on, what? Mark Epstein later said it was just a joke between siblings and that Bubba wasn't Bill Clinton, as many assumed. But honestly, the damage had already been done. That message exists, it's circulated everywhere, and it's exactly the type of thing that makes Trump react instantly. So how does he handle all of this? Does he respond calmly? Does he release the records he once promised during the campaign? Not at all. Instead, he has a full-blown public outburst.
Release all the files, Don, or Chucky Schooms will cut a bitch. Now, his head is slowly sliding down his torso. If the president does sign it, the bill requires Pam Bondi to make unclassified documents related to Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell publicly available within 30 days. That's December 19th, just in time for the release of my pervert advent calendar.
Then right here, you have Caroline Leavitt talk about the meeting taking place in the Oval Office tomorrow between Donald Trump and the New York City mayor-elect, Mamdani. And she's like, we're having a little communist here. We're having the little communist over. And again, just who behaves like this? Like, these are freaking evil, weird, demented human beings. Here, play this clip.
I think you'll all hear from him directly. I also think I will just add, it speaks volumes that tomorrow we have a communist coming to the White House because that's who the Democrat Party elected as the mayor of the largest city in the country. I think it's very telling, but I also think it speaks to the fact that President Trump is willing to meet with anyone and talk to anyone and to try to do what's right on behalf of the American people, whether they live in blue states or red states or blue cities, in a city that's becoming much more left than I think this president ever anticipated in his many years of living in New York.
On November 12th, the exact day the documents come out, Trump goes on Truth Social and calls everything the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. He labels real emails as fake. Then he warns Republicans, and this part is remarkable, saying only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall for the trap. Meaning, don't vote to release anything else or he'll turn against you. But there's more. 2 days later, on November 14th, Trump is on Air Force One when Bloomberg reporter Catherine Lucy asks him about the Epstein emails. She's doing her job, asking reasonable questions about records that mention him 1,600 times. And the president's response? He points at her and says, "Quiet, quiet, piggy." Yes, the President of the United States called a professional journalist piggy for asking about his links to a sex offender